Welcome in and welcome back to the Gym Lounge Happy Hour. I'm Red. This is Noah. And it's been like almost a full 2 weeks since the last time we recorded. I don't even know if I turned the video on.
You should just keep recording. That'd be pretty fun.
The video is on, so we're good. We're just gonna let it go.
I like it.
It's been almost a full 2 weeks since we did our last podcast, and that's because we got all messed up because Noah went on vacation, and then Noah decided after he got back from his cruise to go take an impromptu vacation down to Southern Illinois. And I don't know why that was a choice, but apparently that's just what needed to happen.
It was a work trip. It was a work. There was no vacation. It was just putting fire in the wire. Okay, that's what we do to comment.
That sounds like not what you want to do. I feel like there should be some electricity in the wire.
Electricity, current,
if you're putting fire in there, I feel like you're causing more problems than you are fixing.
You know what? They appreciated how we operated down there.
Oh, I'm sure. So it's been about 2 weeks, and so Noah went off to that, and then I was out of town for like 3 days doing some social media content. So we are filming this the day that we were putting it out. So we are going to turn this off, edit it real quick, and get it posted. Hopefully it'll be out on time. We'll see. Not many of our videos come out on time, so.
Or with any sort of quality. Somebody's usually opening some chips or something right over the phone.
Absolutely. So what's become a weekly segment, we are going to do AC check-in. And the last time we checked in, it was a Tuesday, and we had gotten a message from the landlord, and he said, it'll be done this week. Was it done this week? Was it done that week?
No,
it was not.
I just checked. It's not.
It's not okay. And so towards the end of that week, he said it'll be done by Wednesday, which would have been this past Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is it done?
Check. No, it's still not done.
Still not done. Okay. Where are we at with the AC?
So I got back from this work trip, and the Thursday or something. It did rain Wednesday that he was supposed to install. Finish the installation.
And he had to put holes in the ceiling, so if you're not going to do it while it's raining, reasonable. But they were out here Thursday.
Yes.
Trucks, there were ladders.
Yes. There's all sorts of equipment. So I got in the next day after the ladder, so Friday. Okay. And I'm like, I'm going to swing over and check in and say, hey, you got any ETA on when,
Because it wasn't done when you got it.
Because it was not done. It was not done. And so I walk over there and got a hold of the head maintenance guy or the building maintenance guy and said, hey, just wondering if there's any update on when this stuff's going to be done. And this dude fired back with, man, you guys are a pain in my fucking ass. And I'm like, and I kind of lost my cool. I was not in a good mood, apparently. And, are you serious? You guys took the AC out, blah, blah, blah.
And he tried to tell you the AC they took out didn't work.
He tried to fire back and say the AC didn't work. I said, that's not true. We used it. We were using it. And he did apologize multiple times at the end of the conversation. He was just kind of busting balls, but it was not a good time for busting balls.
Well, so because I went back to your point of not a good time for busting balls. I got the message from my mom that this was taken out, that the hole was in the wall, May 31st. It is June 9th.
July 9th.
Yes.
It's even further than June 9th.
It's further than my mind can grasp. So we've been a month and a half without AC in the hottest part of the year.
Yeah, and I think overall we've been lucky with the weather still. There's been a few days that were sketchy, and we've got 2 large fans that have probably helped out greatly.
Quite a few members have chosen to work out early or work out late to try to avoid the heat. Me and Becca come in here pretty late at night at this point. We're normally here about 8 or 9 p.m. starting our workouts just to avoid the heat at this point.
Right. So to your point, hopefully it's gonna be done here. The guy did end up saying that there's about 4 hours of work left. He also did mention that they had somebody quit in their busiest part of the year.
Is it the busiest now at this point? Like, don't things go out at the beginning of the summer and then you fix them and then now it's kind of chill?
I don't know.
Obviously, you don't know.
There's probably I'm not a tech guy, but I guess when you're cranking your AC constantly, it's probably putting the most stress on your AC unit during the summer.
they're HVAC, so they're heating and cooling. Why is this the busiest part of the year? Why is the winter not busier?
I don't know if AC units have more of a history of going bad. I don't know.
Yeah. And keep
That's
this
what
in
he
mind.
told-
Keep
because
this in mind.
we bullshit.
As we've told you, they are a heating and cooling company that own this building.
Yeah, no. So it was frustrating, but he after the conversation we smoothed things out, and he said he didn't give me a time. He just said there's about 4 hours of work left, and that somebody quit, and he's just got one guy. So obviously we're not terribly high on the priority list.
What does he mean by he just got one guy? Because there's him, there's the owner, and then there's apparently an employee.
Yes.
And what, they only had 2 employees? That's how they...
Maybe it's this location.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming it's not always the case. And if you hear some banging around, it's just Gmo out there fucking around with some weights.
Quiet down. Get out of the mirror. You're in front of the logo.
No one wants to see you, Gmo. So the owner, you would presume, since he started a heating and cooling company, would know how to do some of this stuff.
If I'm an owner and I don't know where he's at in his career, my hope is that I don't have to do anything.
That you don't need to, correct?
Yeah. But to your point, if I need to step in,
Someone quit this week. You're short an employee. Like,
Yeah.
you should know what you would assume. Most people don't start businesses. They don't know anything. Well, most
Hold
people
on.
don't have businesses.
what do you mean? Exhibit A and B.
I was gonna change the way I said. Many people will start businesses that they don't really know much about because they don't know how to run a business. Most people don't succeed in business if they don't know how to do the functions of that business, and it's been around for a while.
Sure.
I know Fleming from like when I was a kid, type of thing. So like, it's at least I think so.
Yeah, and I mean, and they do have 2 locations, right? So I don't know
pretty
how
sure.
many people they have at the second location. Regardless, that's where we're at with the AC. It's not great. The cooler with ice is still on the table with the fan.
I'm in.
So you went on vacation.
It was a work trip.
I don't know. You went on vacation. So
Oh
you went to
my God.
Chicago. You took some pictures. I laughed at your expense on Facebook, and
Laugh at expense on Facebook.
you posted some pictures, and I laughed. It was very posed and.
Oh, I'm trying. Those shouldn't have gone to Facebook too. They should have just been on Instagram.
Were they supposed to go to OnlyFans? Is that what you're saying?
Ooh, those are the different pictures. Should have just been on Instagram, so I was a little confused. Alright.
So where did you go?
This past week I was. We did Chicago for 2 days, just kind of get some content down there. We have me and Becca YouTube channel, Instagram, all that stuff, and that's where we make most of our money. So we're constantly trying to find content. So we went down to Chicago for a couple of days, and then we went up to Milwaukee for a day. And Milwaukee was mainly to help my dad get into. We got him some Summerfest tickets for Father's Day, and so we were just trying to help him get into Summerfest. We had already been. Summerfest is 3 weekends in a row at some music festival, and we'd already been the previous 2 weekends. There was no one who wanted to see this weekend, so we just went up there to go help him get into Summerfest, essentially.
Just defining Summerfest for the 3 viewers that we have that probably live in this area and know what Summerfest is.
I didn't know what Summerfest was really until like 2 years ago. So
That's fair.
it was my first time going.
That's fair.
I'd never been, so I have no idea. It's fine. Like Summerfest is fine. Like
Have you been to a lot of concerts previous to that?
No, I've been to a few, but not a ton. Maybe like 3 or 4, and all at like Tinley Park's amphitheater. Like it's like probably the only place I've really gone. But the thing that I think they suck at is booking good artists.
Sure.
Like-
that would make a concert suck.
Yeah, like, they got like some decent country artists, which I get it. It's Wisconsin, kind of makes sense. Outside of that, any other genre, it was all basically trash. Like there was maybe 1 or 2 that were okay, and they
Were
had
they
to
big
get
names?
sort of like, so they had like Ava Max, who was like big 3 years ago, so like decently big name, but like not doing a whole lot now. She's got some new music. They had Young Gravy, who's huge right now. You just learned about him over New Year's.
Yeah.
He's really big right now. They had him. And then they had some big country names. I'm not big into country. They had, I think, like Brett Young, who I think is pretty big, and a couple of the big country names. But then they had some really fucking old big names, like Cheap Trick. and then they dropped out.
Sure.
Because I'm sure someone died.
Right.
And then they also had Jimmy Buffett, who also dropped out the weekend before, so Young Gravy played a second time.
Oh my god.
The biggest name I think they had Imagine Dragons.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest name they had. Outside of that, like there wasn't anything real big. I'm sure they had like Saliva and Buck Cherry, who were big probably 10 years ago, like if not further back, probably further back. So like they hit all the genres. Don't get me wrong, like they definitely hit them, but not very well. And I don't know if it's just not a place that artists want to go, or if there's other stuff going on these weekends.
So how big is Summerfest in terms of like how many people do you think?
So we don't really know, but like on this Saturday, the last day, they had this little thing where there was a giveaway where the first 30,000 people got like free tickets for next year. First 30,000 people were like, oh shit, over 30,000 people going. To me, that seemed like more than what I felt like I've seen.
Sure.
Well, they were only supposed to hand out these tickets from 12 to 3 p.m. We got in line at like 3, and we've gone 3 weekends in a row. Previous times, no line to get in. Like it was super easy to get in out. This time there was a massive line because it was free to get in from 12 to 3. So like when we got there at 3, massive line. We had tickets, so we didn't really care about trying to get there. So we were okay going to the back end of that, and we're going. And they're still letting people in for free up until like we got through the gates at like 3:30, 3:45, and they're still handing out these tickets for next year, and they got numbers on them. So we were number 22,000 through the gates that day. Like 22,100 or something like that's what we're. And obviously this is 4 o'clock. The headliners go on at 7:30, so there's still people coming. Yeah. But my assumption is they don't quite hit that 30,000 number every day.
Right.
And this is Saturday too. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday concert. So
I'm sure if they guarantee attendance, a certain amount of attendance next year, it makes it easier to book artists. That probably makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And that's my assumption is their attendance probably isn't that great. If you walk past a lot of these stages, they're very empty. There's like 8 stages and there's just not anyone there.
So what does it cost for 3 weekends of?
So we got them at a massive discount because like we saw them like in February or something like that, and we got them for $55 a ticket to get all 3 weekends, all 3 days, all 3 weekends. I think they're normally 110, so still pretty cheap for 3 days, all 3. But they kill you on the food and drinks, like more than you would think. At like we're talking a brat for $10, and a beer was $10, which pretty standard 16-ounce beer, like it's like pretty standard. But the mixed drink, $20, and it was maybe 12 ounces. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. I could not understand any. And you see people walking around with them like crazy, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's brutal. $20.
A brat burger was $20. I don't understand what they're doing with these brat burgers that they're $20.
I'm trying to compare it to some ridiculous prices I've paid for drinks in the past, and I want to say Vegas Bombs in Vegas at a piano bar, or no, at a pool party. A vodka Red Bull was $24 for a small one.
That's
so
crazy.
Like you're approaching
Vegas prices.
Vegas higher end hotel pool party prices
in Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. I was looking at it, but people were walking around with them like crazy, and like plenty of drunk people in there and everything. You can't bring in outside food or drink, so if they're drunk, they either drink before, they're drinking while they're there. So people are paying it. I thought it was absurd.
That's wild. That is wild. That is absolutely crazy. So I did want to take some time today to thank everybody. I don't know if we've really formally done that other than the quick hype.
Sure.
You know.
Thank our 5 people that watched.
Thank you. Dad, Mom, love you. No, I do want to thank people that watch this podcast,
sure, that
attend the gym. You know, thank you for everybody, you know, purchasing apparel, purchasing the drinks, purchasing equipment. That one's a little different. We've got gym members that are purchasing equipment for the gym. Bars, not just cheap equipment. This is $200 to $300.
Sure.
And I didn't know that was a thing, and it's perfectly fine. You know, our space is their space. This is everyone's space. Sure. So we've got a couple people that asked if they can purchase bars. One of them already came in, a deadlift bar, and then he also bought cannonball grips for doing pull-ups and working grip strength and stuff like that.
Or if you have a sadistic trainer digging into spots that hurt.
Yeah. We're gonna be hitting your pec here soon with that. So that's been great. We really appreciate everybody kind of supporting this and having some sort of buy-in with it. And then also the referrals, right?
Yeah.
We've done very minimal advertising, if any.
We haven't technically done any the advertising we've done is promote a couple of, we haven't promoted anything, just posting onto Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And
Very inconsistently, relatively inconsistently too.
on Facebook at least. We're
Yeah.
consistent on Instagram and YouTube at this point, but those aren't marketing tools necessarily. Like, we're not promoting posts, we're not boosting posts, we're not doing any of that. So I don't think really anyone's heard about this gym if it wasn't from a referral at this point.
That, and then we've got gym members with other talents, like one of the guys printed up. He made a giant magnet sign for the front and back of the building, which we had no sign up until then.
There'd been no sign in this building for 3 years.
For 3 years, yes. When we tell people like where we're at, we tell them to look for Fleming Heating and Cooling.
And we're right next door. Because they have a sign.
Yes, they do have a sign. They do have a sign. So we really want to thank everybody for the referrals and the support like that. And so just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and we got plenty of people that do various things around here. We got someone who hooks us up with paper towels and cleaning solution.
Yeah.
Even got us the paper towel dispenser.
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy.
It's
Watch
automatic.
out, Peak. We're coming.
So yeah, we got quite a few members that we appreciate what they do around here, and it's to Noah's point, kind of surprising that people do that. I think it's because it's a more small community
Right.
feel gym to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, so my wife has been lifting consistently for the longest time in her life, and I want to say it's been like 8 months. So she's done really well, and that also includes like mostly dieting, following her dieting,
Sure.
prioritizing protein, because as a female she struggles to get protein, and she struggles to eat enough. So she's got an issue when she comes in here from time to time where she gets lightheaded, and I have a feeling that's more common than maybe I've given it credit for.
So in my limited purview as well, Becca had the same thing. She was getting dizzy and lightheaded when she first started lifting as well, and I kind of wrote it off initially a little bit because I don't experience that.
Sure.
Unless I'm super hot or super overworked, something like that, or I had a heavy deadlift and like all the pressures in your head. Other than that, I'm not getting the dizzy and lightheaded, so like I kind of wrote it off for a little bit.
Same. And I felt bad that I was doing that, so we started diving into it. She got her blood work done. Her iron levels were fine. That was a question, was what are your iron levels?
Sure.
And we'll talk about that in a second. Iron levels were within the range. Ferritin levels were low.
What is ferritin?
Ferritin is a protein that stores iron for when your body needs it.
Oh, so she had adequate iron in her body, but isn't storing the iron. So in theory, she could have had a high iron meal, so iron was good for now, but then not. That's interesting.
So when they test your iron levels, ferritin's one of the number one indicators, and there's 2 or 3 other tests that they kind of use to diagnose if you have an iron issue. So when you have low iron helps create red blood cells. Red blood cells carry oxygen around the body, including the brain. When you don't have enough oxygen in the brain, you feel lightheaded, feel like you're going to pass out.
Sure.
That's one instance of passing out because of low iron levels. You can also get dizzy because of a drop in blood pressure. So sitting or standing too quickly can mess with your blood pressure. She also has that. Even when she's not lifting, there's been time to time where she'll get up or she'll sit down and she's like, oh my, I feel very lightheaded. And I'm like, you got something going on. Like, to Red's point, I couldn't understand it because I didn't experience it. And then, so we're working through that. The other thing is poor blood circulation, low blood sugar, and dehydration was the other one. Dehydration causes...
Do you drink any water in your family?
Dude, I don't know. She carries around water all day, so that was never a thought.
She knows she's got to drink the water, right?
She does, okay. But when she drinks it, like when I drink part of my shaker, a third of it is gone. When she drinks, I think it's like just a wetter mouth. Like,
oh my God.
Like, so she's constantly carrying around water, but I don't think she's ever measured how much she's taking in. So we're gonna check on that, and then we're gonna start supplementing a little bit of iron and see how she feels as well. So
how much iron are you supplementing, and how do you know what to supplement?
Still gotta dive deeper into that. We have a 45 milligram tablet, and you have to be careful when you're supplementing iron because you can overdo iron.
Which, like that was kind of our issue because we have Becca supplementing iron right now. We assume she's anemic, she hasn't had blood work done or anything, but the iron seems to help what she has going on and everything. So we assume that. But to your point of overdoing it on iron, there's not like a great recommendation of how much iron to really take when you try to dive in. And then I just discovered a week and a half ago that something like iron's only like 25% bioavailable or something like that. And so if it's only 25% bioavailable, does that mean if you take 10 milligrams of iron, you're really only getting 2.5? So if you're supposed to get 12, you got to take like 120 to get that. Like I don't know how the math works, and so it's super confusing. And like it seems like the general recommendation I think is like around 10 to 15 milligrams or something like that a day, and most of the pills are 45 or 60.
Yeah,
or like,
they get out of control quickly.
And so like I don't know what to supplement with it. It's kind of confusing to a certain extent. And if you're doing iron, taking it with vitamin C, it makes it more bioavailable. Just for those of you that are supplementing.
Also,
iron.
on an empty stomach, it helps your body absorb it quicker.
Oh, it's weird because they say to take it not on an empty stomach because it can upset your stomach.
I bet you that probably happens depending on who you are, but in terms of just absorption,
right?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess be aware of that. You could upset your stomach, but you got to do what you got to do.
And it seems like iron's real big right now because my mom's supplementing a ton of iron because she had a hemoglobin issue where like she got blood work done and they called her and she didn't like this. She had blood work done during the day and they happened to get her blood work run throughout the day. And she was normal physical, nothing crazy. She just hadn't been feeling well in general, but it was just a general physical. And they did blood work in the morning, and this was like 9 p.m. at night. They called her, she didn't answer. They called her again, left a voicemail, she didn't answer. Then they called me, and I must be their emergency contact. And so they called me, and this was like two or 3 months ago. But they called me, and it's a random phone number, so I don't answer. And
if they would have texted you, you'd have
I absolutely would have responded right away. And they left a voicemail, but I didn't get a chance to look at the voicemail because I just assumed it was a spam call, and which it shouldn't have. It was like 9:30 at night. Generally not getting spam calls 9:30 at night.
Probably a little more of an emergency at that point.
And I think it was a weekend too. It was like a Saturday or a Friday or something. But either way, so I'm looking, I'm like, that's weird. And the number calls again. And so as the number's calling, I do the thing where I hop on Safari and start Googling the number, trying to see where it's coming from. This is before the call ends, and I beat it. And it was from the hospital. And the guy gets on the phone. He's like, hey, you need to have your mom call us right away, or just get straight to an ER. I'm like, what's going on? Like, they couldn't give me any info. So like that's basically all he said. And then I go back and look at the other message, the voicemail like, hey, have your mom call us immediately. I'm like, that sounds disturbing. Yeah. And so I call my mom, she doesn't answer. I'm like, son of a bitch.
That's weird. It seems to run in your family.
And so
did you text her?
I think I did.
Oh my god.
But she lives 2 minutes from me, so I drove over there, got there. She gets in. Her hemoglobin was down to I think 5, and the level for concern, like, hey, you may die, is like below 8, and like you're supposed to be at 15 is like the normal number. So like she was low, and they still haven't figured out what's wrong with her. But what they have her doing is supplementing iron, quite a bit of iron. Like I think it's like 300 milligrams a day or something.
Gotcha.
Like a ton of iron.
That's
and then they have her eating iron fortified foods on top of it too. Like so she's doing a ton of iron. They still haven't figured out what the issue is, but that has been helping. So there's just iron issues, it seems like, everywhere.
Yeah, you brought up fortified foods. That's another trick if you don't want to do iron pills, iron supplement pills. They have food that's supplemented with iron. Cereal's a big one, I know.
Yeah. So cereal's the one that she does quite a bit of. Interestingly, though, I can't remember what the difference was. There's heme and non-heme iron.
One's from plant, one's from animal.
Yes, and they absorb into your body differently. One's more bioavailable than the other, and I don't remember which one is.
I think it's the animal one is easier for the body to use, which seems to be pretty typical with the body. Also very interesting. I read that the other day too. So we're gonna supplement a little bit. And I'm probably gonna. I told her to do half a pill a day, and we're gonna get another blood test done. I think in a few months, and hopefully, she sees an improvement in her lightheadedness in the gym as well.
Can hormones impact iron levels?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because that's the concern with females primarily is the hormones fluctuate so much throughout the day and obviously through their menstrual cycle that I'm curious if iron is something that is impacted by hormones, if you should pay attention to when the test was taken during the day and as well as the time of the menstrual cycle.
I would say the cycle makes sense with the iron,
Yeah.
The iron test, but as for just hormones in general, I don't know. Let's just be honest, men are simpler.
Like hormones fluctuate so much through the day that apparently my mom's doctor won't even run hormone testing on women because apparently they fluctuate. I think there's ways around that. I'm no doctor, but there's got to be ways around that to a certain extent. But just either way, they fluctuate a ton through the day apparently too. So it's tough to get a read on some things, but I don't know what's impacted by hormones and what's not impacted by hormones.
Right. So we'll keep you guys posted on how that hopefully improves. I said you're taking an iron supplement and we're gonna track your water and see what happens.
And as far as Becca's dizziness and lightheaded goes, that went away. We actually had a recommendation from a trainer who previously trained clients here. She recommended that Becca drink some sort of fruit juice because she thought it would be a low blood sugar issue. And she started doing fruit juice. All that went away. Had no issues while lifting. She doesn't even do that anymore. Any of the fruit juice, and it's not there. So I don't know what is resolving it at this point. But it was a good month and a half, 2 months where she was doing the fruit juice while she was lifting, and all the dizziness and lightheaded went away.
Yeah. And how do you think Becca's water intake is?
Trash. If yours is bad, hers is just like terrible. Like, we've gotten, so right now she's cutting for we have bachelor party and then wedding coming up here in the next 4 months, all that stuff, and so she's cutting down weight right now. One of the first things we did was take out pop, and so she actually discovered she drinks a lot more water when she's not drinking pop, which is kind of interesting. Like she just drinks more in general. Like when she was drinking pop, she'd have one pop, maybe a second pop a day, but then wouldn't drink much of anything else, a little bit of water here and there, and now she's drinking a couple of bottles of water a day. Which is interesting. Like there must be something with how pop quenches thirst or something like that. Or I have no idea why that would be the case, but whatever the reason, she's drinking more water now, which is obviously helpful.
Right, definitely. Huh. So another thing I wanted to go over was I wanted to talk about some of the success stories from some of the members.
Sure.
So first one, we've got a guy that was looking to shed some weight. He's been an avid gym goer for probably at least the past few years that I've known him. He's good at pushing himself at the gym. He's good at following a strength program. He's over 300 pounds. He's 325 pounds when he started, and he got into he wanted to start losing some weight and started getting into the HIIT exercises, so the high intensity interval training. And he asked us to put a program together so he could lose weight. And he goes, I'm kind of into the HIIT stuff right now, because typically we've talked about doing a strength program to lose weight, which to most people probably sounds counterintuitive, but a lot of the science says you could burn more calories through strength training than HIIT training.
And then even on top of that, as you build more muscle, then you're just burning more calories naturally. So there's added benefits across the board. But
so, and then he needed some tweaks with his diet. So we got him eating 300 grams of carbs a day that he's working out, and then on his off days, which he's working out 4 days a week, and then on his off days he eats 150 grams of carbs a day. I forgot what his fat and his protein are at, but the carbs is what we're carb cycling to help him lose weight. So it's been about 4 weeks, and he's down 9 pounds. So he's down 9 pounds over 4 weeks with probably eating more than he's used to.
Sure.
He was probably under eating before, so that's pretty good. We're pretty happy for him, and his goal is to lose 25 pounds, and then we'll see what how that goal changes from there. The other one is your mom.
Yeah.
Your mom's lost at least 20 pounds.
Yeah,
right?
she's down. So she was down 20 pounds over about 11 weeks, somewhere in there, and maybe it was even 14. So, but a short-ish amount of time to lose 20 pounds. She, however, is found that the scale is not a good mental thing for her, so she's now stopped weighing herself for the last 2 weeks. So not exactly sure where the progress is at. She decided to measure things, stomach,
Okay.
arms, legs, whatever, and see how those change. She feels like that's going to help her mentally better, so that's the route she's going. So she may be down 25, 30 pounds at this point. I have no idea, but she was at 20 pounds the last time she weighed herself, and she's progressing in the gym, getting stronger and things like that as well.
That's a good thing to bring up too. Find what motivates you mentally. If it's the
Yeah.
scale, stick with the scale. If it's measurements, stick with measurements. If it's just your look, because your body composition is going to change, but the scale may not change. Just remember all those things. That's a good
And
point.
I was having a conversation with her about it where I think all of that is valid, and you need to do what's going to make you happy mentally too. Because some people looking at the scale every day like gets them angry or depressed or like
Yeah.
things like that, and I think that's an issue. But also, I think where it kind of creates some of an issue is if I'm looking for a specific look in the mirror or a specific size on my biceps or whatever that happens to be. For me, I know what weight I need to get to make myself look like that. If you've never weighed yourself or you don't weigh yourself when you're down to that weight, how do you know where you need to get to and how long it's going to take and what you need to do to get there?
Yeah.
That's where I think it's kind of an issue. Like, I know I need to lose right now. I'm trying to get down about another 20-ish pounds over about 10 to 12 weeks. And so I know how many calories extra I need to burn a day to get there. And it's a specific goal and it's easy to reach. So, but if I was like, hey, I just want a six pack and I don't know what weight I'm going to have a six pack at, how do I know how I'm going to get there? And so I think it creates some issues in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, you've been more calculated than most
Right.
people, and you've seen your body at different stages, and you've tracked those things. I never did that.
Well, and that's what I was telling my mom. Is I'm like, for you though, like the weight she thought she wanted to get to, it was the weight she was when she was like 30, and she's 60 now, and so that weight may look very different now than what
Right.
it was. And that's what I was trying to tell us. I'm like, it doesn't really matter for you because you don't know what you look like, what weight gets you to what you look like. But once you do know, figure it out. Like once you look like what you want in the mirror, weigh yourself.
Yeah.
So you know next time, because most people, you will gain weight again. A lot of people don't stick with what they're doing once you hit your goals. So you know next time how much you need to get down and things like that. So yes, if you've never been down there, then no, it doesn't really matter what the scale says because you don't know where you're going.
For sure. So that's really good. We've got another guy. He was over. I think he was close to 300 pounds. He's a big dude. He's 6'5".
Something like that.
He's tall. So I mean, 300 pounds on someone 6'5" isn't horrible, but he was strong. But he's been leaning out for a while now, and he's down to 250. And he just told me the other day he was bench pressing. He hit 275 on the bench for 12 reps, which I'm like, that's phenomenal. That's a great freaking bench press. And then we've got another guy who started working out prior to the gym. He was at Planet, and at that time he was just over 200 pounds. I told him to get the bodybuilder app just to have something for programming for a structure.
Right, and this was before we were programming for people and stuff too. So.
Correct. So he was able to lose. I think before he came here, he was down to 170 or something. Or that was me. I forgot. He lost 30 pounds at some point.
Yeah, I think it was about 180 or something like that. I think it's
When he started actually programming with us, so he lost weight, did great, but now he's like, I want to get stronger. I want to bulk up. And by the time he got with us, I have him in there at the app at 180, 185. That was in February-ish. And then he got up to 197. So he bulked up, his numbers went up, and now he's like, I want to lean out. And we got him. At this point, we're down to 193. But he's been very committed. I looked up his numbers. In January, he hit a 215-pound squat for 7 reps at a RP7. RP being a level of difficulty 7 shouldn't be crazy hard. There should be some sort of struggle the last 2 reps or so. In June, he hit 365 for a single. When you use a 1 rep max calculator for the 215, that puts his 1 rep max in January at 285. So 285 max in January. In June, we're 80 pounds. 80 pounds up.
It's a little bit.
Yeah. So he did really well, and
and even too, like when he was up at the 195, 198, wherever he kind of topped out at, he still looked good.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he put on a bunch
right.
of fat to get up there.
Good point.
He looked good, and he's cutting down right now. And I mean, I don't know. He wants to cut down, and we'll keep letting him cut down. He was cutting down a little too fast, so we slowed that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's very vascular, and generally vascularity, how much you can see veins is an indicator of how much body fat you have. Like it's not, everyone's different. Some people just are naturally more vascular than others, but a lot of times the more you see your veins, the lower your body fat percentage is going. And dude has veins popping out of his arms like no one I've ever seen. So I don't know how much more weight he's got to lose at this point.
Sure. So no, congratulations to all our members who are hitting their goals. It's really great to see people commit to something, follow a plan, and hit a goal and make progress, whatever that goal is. That's what we want at the gym. That's
for sure
what it's about. So speaking of progress and working out consistently, we'll get to me. Don't worry. We'll get to my problems. We'll get to my problems.
Oh, okay.
How did your week go with your trip and everything? Did you get your lifts in?
I've been in a really weird spot for going on 2 weeks now. It was about 2 weeks ago. I woke up in the morning, and this was I think like 2.5 weeks into my diet and lifting and stuff. It was a little under 2 weeks because diet-wise, I was down 6 pounds over 11 days. That's as low as I had gotten before all this started happening. So I was on 6 pounds, which for me, pretty awesome. Like I'm like, we might have to slow this down a little bit to a certain extent, like because I was dropping faster than I was anticipating. But woke up about 2 weeks ago, and as I was walking around, it was like my brain wasn't keeping up with my eyes. Like I thought it was vertigo. Later found out vertigo is when the room is spinning. If the room is not spinning, you do not have vertigo, which is interesting. But it was a lot of dizziness. What I've described it now as is it feels like I'm just motion sick from walking around.
Tito's does that to me.
There was no Tito's involved. Jesus. And so like I was down and out that whole day. I felt like absolute shit. Just completely super motion sick, nauseous the whole time, headache like crazy. Like whatever, we'll get through today and we'll go to the next day. And I kept checking my fever, no fever or anything, so like it didn't seem to be related to any type of illness or whatnot.
Right.
Woke up the next day, and throughout the course of that day, things got better as the day went on. Not great, but they did improve as the day went on. And then I came in, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get my cardio in. I gotta get my cardio done. It's a cardio day. It shouldn't be that difficult. Come in to do my cardio. I am laying down on the mat, did a couple of stretches, and I was actually feeling okay at this point. Like no dizziness, like it was there, but it was basically gone. I sit up really fast, all comes back, nauseous, feel like I'm gonna puke, come in here, turn the air on, just lay down for 15, 20 minutes, cleaned up out there, went home. Went straight to bed. I'm like, it was terrible. And like, if you've never had motion sick, like, it's, I'm sure most people have, like, it truly felt like I was just motion sick, like, the whole time. It was just absolutely terrible. So I wake up the next day, and finally, the, like, whole, like, eyes not keeping up with the brain type of thing, that was all gone. Like, that was fine, but the motion sickness was still there. And so I decided to hop on. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go to an urgent care or an immediate care and get in or whatnot. So I hop on to my insurance to see which ones are covered, and I could actually do a telemedicine visit. I'm like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that because I'm getting motion sick. Let's not drive somewhere. like that's because it's gonna be like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, I mean, hopping on the phone for a few minutes sounds really convenient. You just call, they pick up right away, and then you're good.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it works. Just like when you call me, pick up right
Oh,
away.
yeah.
So I hop on. I get to so I set an appointment for like 20 minutes later too. Like they have an appointment available in 20 minutes. So get on, talk to the nurse. She gets all my info, and I'm sitting there. And right before she gets off, she's like, "Hey, don't close out of the browser." Okay, don't close out of the browser. She gets off, I close out of the browser. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and like I went right back into the browser because I just checked my messages and then went back into the browser. And I open it still says I'm connected. I'm like, okay, cool. Crisis diverted. We're all
Sure.
good. And so I have 2 phones. I'm just playing around on my other phone doing whatever I got to do at that point. Hour goes by. And she had told me, she's like, there's like 4 people in front of you. And like this person sees people in person and telemedicine. So like 4 people, I'm like, worst case scenario, that's what, 20 minutes per person? Doctors don't spend that much time with people. Like,
Sure.
20 minutes is going to be a long visit with a doctor. So I'm like, it should take then, that's like an hour and 20 minutes. So like, we're at an hour, I'm like, it's getting kind of close. So I start checking, I go to my email on my other phone, and they sent me another link about an hour later that said, hey, this is the link for your new appointment. I'm like, fuck. So I click on that, and in 15 minutes had already gone by since they got sent to. So I click on it, it's like, oh, your session's no longer active. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I hang out for another 15 minutes. I'm like, you know, maybe, just maybe. And then I call up the number, and I'm like, hey, I was doing a telemedicine visit with the urgent care, and I think I got disconnected. How do I reset this up and get everything started again? She's like, oh, you're gonna have to contact them. It's not our doctors. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I thought I was dealing with people that were in network at the place that I'd be going to. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just she's like, you reschedule an appointment too. I'm like, all right, I'll just reschedule an appointment. So whatever. Reschedule the appointment. So like my first appointment was 11:30. It's now like 1:30, and my appointment's at like 2 o'clock for the next one. So I get on the 2 o'clock appointment and get through the nurse again. She says, hey, don't close out of the browser. I'm like, okay, I won't close out of the browser. Browser not closed. Doctor gets on eventually. Doctor talks to me, and she basically settles on. She's like, you know what? You're gonna have to come in to get checked out. I'm like, Jesus Christ. She's like, how quickly can you get here? And I'm like, I can get there like 45 minutes. Realistically, I could get there like 15 to 20, but I didn't really know. Like, I didn't want to like commit to getting there sooner if for some reason I couldn't. I was laying in bed most of the day, so I didn't really. Oh, that's the other crazy part about all this. The whole time, it felt like I was thinking slower. It's like I had a brain fog, and my like mind just like did not process information very quickly. And that part lasted like 4 or 5 days. Like it got better and better as the days went on, and I think I'm good now. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Just gonna blame all the idiotic things you do on this brain fog.
Yeah. And so the doctor said you gotta come in. I'm like, okay. So I get in there. It's now like 3 o'clock. Go in. And drove myself there because forget the motion sickness. Just gonna drive there. Go and see the. They give me in right away because they're like. You're Keith? I'm like, yeah. Like, so you've had a heck of a day. I'm like, sure, whatever. Like, I don't know what they're saying. And they give me to the room, the lady comes, she's like, oh, here's his paperwork. You've already checked him in 3 times because of the 2 online appointments. And I'm like, that's what they meant by a heck of a day. They know who I was. And that's the other thing too, is the doctor who told me to come in, she worked at the hospital, the urgent care that I was going to. She was able to check like when they had availability and all that stuff. So the lady on the phone who's like, oh, it's not our doctors, full of shit. Like completely full of shit. I'm like, what the hell? And so they get me in, they do regular physical workup, talk to the doctor, check blood pressure, do all that stuff. They actually check my blood pressure laying down, then sitting up, then standing. Because apparently there's certain things that can happen with your head if your blood, like something about standing up can change your blood pressure and then can affect your brain and stuff. I had no issues. Blood pressure was the same in all positions. Slightly high blood pressure, but not. It was like 130 over 70 or something like that. So a little high, but not too concerning to a certain extent. They check my strength. They ask me all the questions and whatnot. And I was like, your physical checks out. He's like, we can do some blood panels and do an EKG, see if that clears anything. He's like, but the issue is dizziness is very ambiguous and very different for everybody, and there's a lot of things that can cause it.
Sure.
Makes sense, like, because I didn't even know how to describe what I was feeling myself. So, like, yes, it's ambiguous. Like, I said dizzy, I said vertigo, and then by the time I got to the end of that appointment, was when I decided, oh, it's motion sick. That's where I was like, oh, that's what it is. It finally hit what it felt like. Run the EKG, run the blood work. They ran a full blood panel on me. Good news is my liver enzymes are lower now than they were previously. So
Congratulations.
Got that.
Nailed it.
Yep, absolutely. So something's going good. And then they ran my EKG, and there was an issue. My heart rate's too slow. I'm too much of an athlete. That's basically what they told me. It's like they like flagged it. Cause I was checking, because they upload all your stuff online now, and you can see it generally before the doctor comes in. So I'm like looking at my thing, living report, and like they labeled something of like my sinus rhythm was like, they had a word for it. It basically meant it was too slow. or slower than normal. And the doctor's like, yeah, it's fine. It's generally just that happens when you're high class athlete and things like that. And so, you know,
I think you're just making up words. Go on.
That makes sense. But all that checked out. EKG was good. Blood work was good. And so the doctor was like, you know, what I can give you is meclizine, which is like a motion sickness drug, and send you on your way. And if it gets worse, go to the ER. If it continues, follow up with the primary. Like, okay, thanks for the help, doc.
So, like, I'm curious if you went to the ER because it got worse, what they would do. Like, why don't we just do that to rule that out? Why do we gotta wait till it's time to go to the emergency room?
That's kind of where I'm at with it too, but he did at least clarify why that was kind of what the next step would be. So they don't have the ability to do a CAT scan or a CT scan at the urgent care. They would do that at an ER. And so
he can still refer you, you know,
somewhere to get one of those done. You would think, yes. That was kind of what's going through my head. Is like, I have a brain issue going on. Maybe we look at the brain.
Right.
Like my head's fucking out. Why don't we take a look at that? But the reason they do the blood panel and all the other stuff is they're checking to see if blood pressure is an issue. They're checking to see if electrolytes are off, because there are a lot of things that can cause these.
Sure. Which we've talked about.
Yes. So I take the meclizine. The meclizine does help, actually. It was pretty effective, but everything was still going on for like 3 or 4 days. Like, still dizzy. It wasn't as bad. And the weirdest thing, caffeine seemed to help, which leads me to believe it could be some migraine-like thing, because caffeine is in migraine medicine. There's a decent amount of caffeine in there, so I'm like, okay, maybe that helps. And it got better as the day went on, which to me seems weird, because generally if something's going on with your brain, you think you get worse as the day went on. The further you get away from sleep, you know, the more tired your brain should be, would be my assumption, at least.
Your cortisol levels are higher in the morning. I think they taper out. That, like, your body produces cortisol to wake you up.
Okay,
throughout sleep.
So that would be the one thing that could be higher.
Just something I remembered.
Right, yeah. But so maybe it's some sort of cortisol issue. But in general, like, in my mind, the brain's functioning more as the day goes on. Things should get worse if it's a brain problem. So maybe that leads me to believe it's not a brain problem to a certain extent. But regardless, things would get better as the day went on, and I would get to a point where, like, if I took the meclizine, took a couple of Advil, and it was late enough in the day, I still was able to get some workouts in. So I was still able to lift, get some stuff done. It wasn't a big deal. But I still scheduled an appointment with my primary. Schedule a regular physical, because I was due for a physical anyway, so do that. So that happened, I think, on like day 5 or something like that. So by day 5, I'm feeling fine, but not right. Things are still off enough that, like, I still would like to get a CT scan or whatever they can. I don't know the difference.
Don't ask me.
Okay. So I want to get some sort of brain scan done, because it's a brain problem in my head. I'm like, why don't we check it out? See what's going on in there, you know?
Sure.
So I go in to get my physical done. Told them I had a couple of issues. Mainly the dizziness was the main problem, and then I also thought I may have some potential hernias or something. I've been having some pain when I'm in certain positions while I'm lifting, both in my ab and down in the groin. So I'm like, you know, maybe a hernia. And then I told him about my low T issue. And so the dizziness, he's like, yeah, just stick with the meclizine, and if it doesn't clear up in, you know, some time, call back in and we'll get you a CAT scan. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're just going to dismiss that issue. Beautiful. And then he feels around. He's like, you know, doesn't feel like there's any hernias there, but it could be the start of a hernia. I'm like, okay, so is there anything I should do, like strengthening the muscles or anything like that to fix it? He's like, well, just lift lighter and do more reps. I'm like, okay, great. Another great solution. Like, beautiful. Because, like, I don't know what they can do, because I have read that there's not a whole lot you can do to stop a hernia for the most part. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The muscles get weaker. But I'm like, if we know it's the start of a hernia, can we go in and check that out? And if it is, can we just put the mesh in now? It's kind of what my thought is. Like, sure. Why wait for something to break through before we go and stop it from breaking? If it's already the start of one.
I wouldn't expect, you know, the insurance to be like,
no.
Yeah. No.
It's kind of what I was thinking. Oh, and on top of this, with both those issues, he's like, yeah, you know, as we get older, you know, you just can expect to get dizzy from time to time. Tissues break down, and it's going to happen. And, you know, with hernias, the tissue starts to break down, it gets weaker, and you're just more likely to get a hernia.
That's such a lazy fucking response. When you told me that, I'm like, you need a new doctor.
I know. Like,
that's just ass.
It was absolutely brutal. And then the odd thing that he did actually respond to was the low T. He ordered me a blood panel to get testosterone ran. And so that hasn't come back yet, because, you know, they run slow as shit.
You've only had one blood test that showed low T?
Yep. And what's oddly, he didn't need to see the blood test. He just believed me. I told him the numbers. He didn't know what numbers I was saying. I was at like 300.
It's not even a real doctor, dude.
No, I don't think so. I'm at like 300. I'm like, which on their stuff said was low. I'm like, is that low? It's like, well, if they said it was low, it's probably low.
Cool.
Like, all right, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, what did the blood test say? Did it say, was it in the little range?
What did they say their interest?
Well, as you get older, you know. Jesus
Oh
Christ, dude.
So we're waiting on the T results to come back. As far as the dizziness goes, I would say over the last 2 days, I've gotten back to what I would call normal or a baseline. Things seem to be fine. I haven't been taking the meclizine the last 3 or 4 days. Advil's dropped out, but I have been keeping the caffeine going for the most part, because that does seem to keep things moving. But I've resorted to not doing these things anymore, because that is one thing the urgent care doctor did mention that I do think is a legitimate concern of, like, he's like, you know, you're drinking energy drinks, we don't really know what's in them, so we don't know what they're going to do. I'm like, you know what, that's a valid point, and I've been drinking like 2 of those a day leading into all this.
Oh my God.
So I am just doing coffee. I figured that is a better approach to the whole caffeine situation.
Did he say what next steps would be for your testosterone blood test?
No, just said, hey, we'll run it. I'll call you when blood work comes in. And oddly, he didn't run any other blood work except for testosterone.
So I will say one thing my doctor said when we ordered the next blood test. He goes, we need 2 tests to confirm low T before we move.
Is there a certain amount of time in between?
He didn't say that, or
Okay.
I didn't know to ask, or I didn't think to
Right.
ask. So that was something my doctor had said, but
Yeah, your doctor accepted the other blood work, right?
yeah,
As
they
the
dove
first
in.
test?
Yes, and they dove into that and decided to schedule another blood test, a second blood test through them to monitor something that he didn't really tell me what it was.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it should be.
So as far as, I guess you were asking how's my lifting been going. To sum all that up, I actually did not get, I think I'm only 1 workout behind as far as like actual lifts go. It's because I've spaced stuff out so far that like it actually wasn't terrible. I missed a lot of cardio, just because I couldn't get myself to do anything.
That's fine. You don't need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Surprisingly, weight is good. I got, like I said, I was down 6 pounds in 11 days, so I was down to 223 from 229. Through that process of like not lifting for a full week, I only went up to like 225, so only 2 pounds up, which to me, not terrible. And in that time, I'd gone to Summerfest through a weekend too, so like there was a reason for weight to go up slightly. Before I left for this weekend trip, I was 225. I came back, I was 227 this morning. So only up 2 pounds. A lot of that's going to be bloating. I'm probably back down to 225. So I would say so now dieting for 3.5, 4 weeks, with all this shit that happened, I'm down 4 pounds, which I think is behind where I wanted to be, but in a good spot, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. I went out of town. I tried to get some lifts in. I think I lifted at least 2 or 3 times in the hotel gym. But it was just, there was no structure, and I gotta get my shit together, so.
Starting today?
No. No, I do need to sit down and get it structured. I'd like to throw it in the app. That app helps me. I was tracking stuff in a notebook, and it's not doing well for me.
Yeah, you want to talk about tracking stuff in a notebook.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
I just got pages.
You're such a boomer.
It's mine and Becca's stuff, just pages on pages of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully next week when we check back in, I'll know what my team numbers are. Noah will be lifting, I'll be lifting, and we'll have AC.
Slow down, all right? Maybe I'll get some light stretching in.
Sure. Did you even lift yesterday? You were here.
I came in. I did a few things for the middle upper back. Seal rows. I don't know why. I hated those before. They were.
So your plan is to have no plan.
No, correct. Maybe. Yes.
I'm just gonna go do this today.
That's what it's been. It's what it's been. And granted, I was helping Christina and Brittany, but still, I need to get back with it. So that storm really screwed me up.
All right. Well, I need to go get some caffeine because I haven't had any today, and I'm
Oh,
starting
yeah.
to feel a little dizzy and lightheaded and tired. So we're gonna go get some caffeine, and
We sell energy drinks here.
Yeah, beautiful. They're really healthy for you. And so I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go edit this video, and hopefully this will be out by 5 o'clock. So we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.